The Oklahoma Sooners went 10-2, had some big wins, but one college football analyst still doesn't believe they actually belonged.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You want to get right in on the action? Go to FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire. And on today's show, we're going to have some portal speculation because the transfer portal will officially open in like a week and a half, but we've had several portal intended entries over the last few days. We'll talk about those portal entries that happened on Tuesday. But we got to start here, Jay, because Paul Finebaum of SEC Network and the Paul Finebaum Show, he's running his mouth about Oklahoma and basically, in essence, said they didn't belong. He said Oklahoma did not look like a playoff team, and they were fragile all year. I mean, that was my third trip to Norman this college football season, so I've had a pretty good case of the Sooners. They barely got by with Auburn. It took two of the worst calls I've ever seen to get them past one of the worst teams in the SEC. They ended up losing badly to Texas. They lost to Ole Miss. It took a defensive play to beat Alabama. It took a defensive play to beat Tennessee. I mean, they very easily could have been a 4 or 5 loss team, which doesn't matter now. That's right, Paul. It doesn't matter now. They went 10-2 and made the playoff because you know what? They won the games.
As The Rock would say, it doesn't matter. Because that is 100% true. It's like everyone wants to find a reason why they don't want to give respect to Oklahoma. Yes, the offense struggled, didn't have much of a run game. Bama didn't have much of one either. And that's kind of like the talking point with them. I'm guessing if they lose to Indiana, the talk is, well, Alabama shouldn't have been there either. They got lucky to get Oklahoma and they should have been. They purposely lined up all of the SEC teams to where they would play each other. That way they can get rid of them, as many of them as possible. And whatevs. Besides that, what are we doing here? Like, why are we revisionist history? We're going back to say, well, they should have lost the games, but they didn't. No, exactly. They didn't lose the games. And so I think it's funny that so many people have these things. I mean, Oklahoma had a 17-0 lead and they blew it.
Yeah.
That to me does not say that you shouldn't have been there. It just means that you blew it. That's it.
And how did they blow it, Jay?
You drop a touchdown, you drop a punt, the punter, somehow the ball slips out of his hands and he has to pick it up, and then you keep giving, and then you shank a punt. So you basically give them good field positioning on back-to-back basic plays, and you do that to yourself. So it happens.
And a pick six.
I mean,
there were
football, it happens.
Points that Oklahoma gave Alabama.
It happens. It happens. So you screwed up.
Yeah, we screwed up. Alabama took advantage. They made the plays. In all those games that Paul Finebaum mentioned, Oklahoma forced those things to happen, or those teams screwed up, and Oklahoma
took advantage of it.
That's football, Paul.
That is
what
football.
happens every single week in the college football ranks, in the NFL, high school. Teams make mistakes, and it's up to the other team to take advantage. Oklahoma made mistakes, and Alabama took advantage. That doesn't discredit or discount the fact that they were a playoff team because they earned it on the field.
What's crazy is that if you go back and look at it, most of the teams that have had new OCs come into the SEC, year one, they struggled, and the team overall struggled, and they do okay. Some get 8 wins, some have gotten 7, 9. You've seen some okayness. Oklahoma figured that out. First year, new OC, new quarterback, and you get 10 wins. Now they can just build upon that. Probably can push for 10 again, maybe get 11 and close out in some games. If you don't have your quarterback get hurt, you might end up winning 11 games because that's exactly on the path Oklahoma was on. You don't have an injured quarterback, you probably win it. Mateer looked like the version he looked like against Michigan to start the season in that game. Again, I said this after the game and how my analysis on this game was. I expected John Mateer to throw an interception. That is just in his DNA. It's in his blood. It's in his game. But he still won that Michigan game, even though he almost threw 2 interceptions. So my point is, we account for those situations happening in the game. We have an expectation that those are going to happen. LSU got 3 picks and still lost the game. You account for that stuff, and then the defense goes in there and do their part. Now, granted, special teams and defense didn't do their part in this Alabama game, but not to rehash that completely again, they did their part against Tennessee. They did their part against Alabama. They won 4 road games this season. That is something to commend. That is a very big deal because not very many teams can say they went out and did that besides Indiana, who went undefeated. That's not easy to do, to go on the road and win that many games. It's tough.
Yeah.
100%. But they went out there and did it. That's
especially when you're having to go to Williams-Brice in Columbia, South Carolina, Neyland Stadium in Knoxville, Tennessee, and Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Now, Lincoln Field we won't count, but we'll just kind of gloss past.
I mean,
that.
Listen, I know we had our moments with the Temple fans and with Casey Keeler. We're not going to rehash all that. No, but he mentions Auburn. Okay. Let's talk about Auburn for a second, because Oklahoma beat them by 7. Texas A&M, a playoff team, beat them by 6. Georgia, a playoff team, beat them by 10. Missouri, who was a ranked team for nearly all of the season, I don't know if they finished ranked or not, they only beat them by 6. And then you're looking at Vanderbilt, a top 20 team, only beat them by 7. And then Alabama in the Iron Bowl only beat them by 7. So what are we doing here, Paul? Like, we're going to talk about Auburn and how Oklahoma needed some plays. Again, this happens every week. You need some things to go your way. You need some breaks to happen in your favor for you to win a game. And these breaks happened in Oklahoma's favor against Auburn. They've had some bad breaks against them at different times, and they were able to overcome them and win some games. It's just the way football goes. Like, we can't sit here and you can overanalyze every single thing that happens, every officiating call that gets made. Shoot, we could go back to the 2021 season, the 2023 season. You want to talk Oklahoma State and officiating, we could do that, but we're not going to do that. But that's the way football goes. There's always going to be some calls that get made or don't get made that impact the game, because it's a human element kind of a game. So I'm not going to sit here and discount Oklahoma's win over Auburn because the officials didn't do their job, or because Oklahoma was able to take advantage of the officials a little bit. It is what it is. That's 3 months ago almost. It's gone. It's in the past.
But can we say that it is, human element? Can we say that the games aren't scripted? Like, it feels like the game should be scripted based upon the way everybody's talking about this stuff and the way things happen. Well, it shouldn't happen that way. Well, why not? Did the script get leaked and someone made an adjustment? Did someone alter the script because they wanted it to go a different way? Like, where's the issue here? It just amazes me that's where we're going, and that's where the complaints are, and that's kind of where I don't know what value is there in us trying to just negate everything that Oklahoma did. Like, I get that it gets clicks and it gets us to talk about it. I guess that they wanted our attention. Totally understand that. I'm gonna go ahead and have a overinflated self-importance piece here that just Finebaum just want to hear us really talk about it. He's like, I want to hear the Oklahoma guys over on Locked On Sooners say something. I think they're the ones that need to talk about this, so I'm going to give you something to talk about. I understand. You bored too. Is that what it is? You bored? You looking for something to talk about? Is that how you feel it? Perfect. Noted. And now we have responded. It's football. It's going to happen. We ain't talking about the luck games from everybody else. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the LSU game, 5 picks? Like, can we talk about any of that? Any of these other games against Florida? I mean, we can do that. We can go in circles about everybody else's games and how certain games were won in certain ways. You can do that. We weren't lucky enough to play in the Big Ten where, like, you can go and beat up on bottom feeders most of the season. You didn't get that.
Yeah.
And you only had like 1 or 2 really big games to get up for. No. The SEC has some of the best defenses in the country. It's proven. Hence, as you mentioned, John, Auburn, 7 to 10 point losses. They kept every game competitive this season. I can understand if someone just beat the dog out of them, like in multiple games, and we were the only ones that made it close. Totally understand that.
Right.
But that's not how any of that.
They played everybody close.
They played everybody close.
Yeah.
Game's game, man.
The game is the game. And speaking of the game, well, the portal is active and it's a frenzy. We'll talk about more Oklahoma Sooners portal entries coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. So with FanDuel, you place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. I mean, you can look at all the moments that's going on in the games from last night. Ohio with UNLV, the score, at one point was 17-3. That makes that live betting portion of it, the spreads and the money lines adjust as the games go on. You can even bet on the next touchdown, drive results, totals, all of that stuff. Basically keeping you locked into the NFL games as well as bowl season. Christmas is going to be some good ones. Great opportunity to add a little spice while you're watching these NFL games. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast and so can you.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're an everydayer, you can get more of what you love here on the Locked On Podcast Network. You can get ad-free access to the audio feed for Locked On Sooners that's compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app, and an invite to members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord servers, which includes a group chat just for listeners. You can go to lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer to find out more. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. And just go find our show, click on it, and you can get all the info that you're looking for. Again, $5 a month, $50 a year for ad-free audio and a members-only Discord channel. Hey, Jay, so we got a couple more portal entries on Tuesday. Jacob Sexton, the offensive lineman, and Jovantae Barnes, the running back, both players of the 2022 recruiting class, both 4-star prospects that never really lived up to expectations at Oklahoma.
Yeah, health was kind of the big issue you ran into. Like Barnes dealt with some stuff. I mean, in 23, you started to see, okay, there's something that could be there. The Cheez-It Bowl was your great introduction of him and Gavin Sawchuk. Both of them got 100-yard rushing in that game. In the next season, you're like, okay, you're going to get a combination of both, and it just didn't happen. Sawchuk emerged in 23, 5 straight 100-yard games as Barnes was trying to get himself going. And then in 24, it was just an abysmalness for everybody. Barnes dealt with injuries there. You got X-Rob or whatnot. I mean, but Barnes did give you the 200-yard game and his 222 all-purpose yards against Maine, in which, that's the biggest game that he had in his career. And it was a good moment for him. And in this season, it was, you could tell that Torrey Blaylock and X-Rob were really going to be your feature backs. And so he played in his 4 games, and it got to the point of, you know what, you'll just practice. We're not going to play you. And they came to a mutual agreement to allow him to get the opportunity to go play somewhere else. And so we're wishing him the best because we totally understand it. Sexton, no bueno with him, as well as, Helms and Isaiah Dent. A lot of injury situations. Like Dent, he played in the main game, but that was the only one he was able to get into this year, last year. This season, no opportunities really because of health. And then you've got the emergence of these 2 young tackles in Fogier as well as Fasusi, who are healthy. It kind of got to the point where there's a good chance that they're going to go ahead and be the ones that lead the way. And so to me, if you really look at it, it's really all about the path to playing, and there's not very many paths to playing.
No, and again, you haven't been able to establish yourself as a significant part of the depth chart. Jovantae Barnes, he was a backup running back to Eric Gray as a true freshman, and him, Sawchuk, they just both battled injuries in that second season in 2023. Both had some good moments throughout. never able to stay healthy, never able to find their footing, so to speak, with the Oklahoma Sooners. Jacob Sexton as well. Just there was a lot of optimism about what he'd be able to do for your offensive line, just never materialized. If you can't be available, you're going to have a hard time getting on the field. Bill Parcells said it best: the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
Fabechi Wiwu. That's why he's so highly thought of. You know, you listen to guys that talk about offensive line play. He was up for the Bullsworth Trophy that goes to the best player that started their career as a walk-on. He was up for that. Like, when you start every single game along the offensive line
for 2
that
years,
is huge. Absolutely huge. For 2 years. That's huge. It's a very physical position. So, man, it's a bummer that these things never really came to fruition for Oklahoma. It seems like the offensive recruiting in that 2022 cycle, Brent Venables' first cycle, never really came together consistently, right? You can go back and look at it. Nick Anderson, Jaden Gibson, Jovantae Barnes, Gavin Sawchuk, Jacob Sexton, Jake Taylor, Caden Helms. I'm sure that there's more on that offensive side of the ball that never really became significant. I mean, Nick Anderson had a great 2023, but that's really it. That's all you got out of him. The rest, you had good moments here and there, but there was nothing consistent. Defensively, though, they hit it out of the park on the defensive side of the ball in that 2022 class. And maybe some of that's due to, Brent Venables and his ability to recruit, and Miguel Chavis and Todd Bates and their ability to scout and recruit as well. So I hope, we've seen hopefully we'll see at some point the offensive stuff catch up to the defense, because until that happens, you're going to have this up and down roller coaster. But so far through the portal, man, it just doesn't seem like Oklahoma's taken that big of a hit yet. Whereas some other teams are. Oklahoma's kind of in a good spot with some of their portal departures so far.
And truth be told, we'll talk about some players that we have kind of an idea that who we think could, as we speculated. But to me, what you're getting is, now that the playoffs are over, you're going to start seeing the players that are going to hit the portal are going to be the ones that most likely don't have a path to play next season. That's kind of what it's starting to show. Like for Kobe McKenzie, what made him surprising is he was one of your defensive leaders. But if you go back and pull the tape and look at everything, most of the starts were between Owen and Kip. Now, granted, you think that you don't know if Owen's going to get, gifted by the NCAA one more season, in which, to me, I have zero faith the NCAA is going to do right by him with this lacrosse situation. So
can't bank on it.
I expect him. Yeah, you can't bank on it. So with that, you would think Kobe would have that chance to play. But then the question right there goes to, will he get the opportunity to go out there? Will it be him, or would it be Samuel Masigo, or would it be one of the young players? Would it be Nesta, Marcus James? It could be, any of those situations. Is Kip coming back? Kip comes back. That kind of, even though those two were really together, you could see them say, hey, we want to play one of the younger players now, leverage more speed and coverage to, be better prepared for, for the SEC this year. So there's so many options that go in there. But as you mentioned, we haven't been hit with the body blow that we took in 2023's transfer portal. I don't think we're going to see that one this time, knock on wood. But you never know. But I do believe that it's really going to be more so players that don't see a path for them to be able to get on the field next season or the season after.
A couple of things. I thought that it was really interesting. Jim Nagy, when he was with the Oklahoma Breakdown a few weeks back, he was talking about the 2026 recruiting class, but also discussed that, hey, they were already having conversations with players' representatives before the season even ended. That's the benefit of having a Jim Nagy and his staff in Norman, is that while the coaches are doing all the game prep and the practices and things like that, Jim Nagy and his people are already having retention conversations. So you're not waiting until after the season's over and you're on the verge of the transfer portal to begin having those discussions. No, those are already happening. And so they have a pretty good idea already of the guys that are going to be coming back for next year, and the guys that they have to continue to work on, either convincing to return or having those hard conversations with about, hey, this is just not the place for you anymore, and that's the big beauty of Jim Nagy and his team in the Oklahoma Sooners front office. Yeah, it's a whole team effort for sure. And Jim Nagy will never take all of the credit. You listen to him talk and he'll talk about how his guys are really doing a lot of the work. But there's a head of that. The second part of this, Jay, and this is more just kind of an aside. I have thought about it, and I wonder if you have too. What if Kobe McKenzie decides to return home to play his senior season of college football and go to Texas Tech?
I mean,
how quickly will Raider fans have to delete some tweets about Kobe McKenzie after he made some comments about best linebacker core in college football?
Oh, they're going to hit that delete button like crazy. Now,
so fast.
If I'm correct, he was never committed to Tech, was he?
No. It was Oklahoma, then Texas, and then
back to Oklahoma.
That's what I
thought. So,
but
yeah, I could totally see them taking the veteran presence and bringing them in and really having to clean themselves up from all the smack talk. So, yeah, I can expect people to hit that delete button. But the other thing to go with that, to keep in mind, is retention is just as critical as acquisition. Yeah. So 100%. Don't focus all your energy on, we got to go get all these players out the portal. Yep. You still got a lot of young players, young promising players that you want to keep. And so, like you mentioned, Nagy and him have been working on this for a bit. They've already had the talks. And I know that for them, and Nagy mentioned this, I think he mentioned this before, that the focal point of they take care of their players at the end of the season. Like, we ain't negotiating during the year. More so, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Is basically what he's saying. We will have a conversation about your performance at the end of the season. And here we are. Exit meetings are happening. Conversations are going. Some players may be getting offered a little bit lower than what they had before because of performance. The game's the game, and they may be doing that just so that they can have them either leave or they want to stick around for real. Here we go.
Yeah. And again, if they are able to find a way to bring back Kip Lewis, Isaiah Satania, either or both, count those as huge front office wins for this team, because both of those guys would be top 100 picks in the NFL draft in 2026. All right, let's get into some portal speculation coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers for making Locked On Sooners your first listen. And again, for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Jay, it's always hard to know exactly who all is going to be ending up in the portal as the exit interviews, happen, and guys are given a lot to think about. And as you mentioned in the previous segment, getting new rev share offers based on performance, based on production, based on availability. There are going to be a lot of hard decisions that have to be made. So who are some guys that maybe you're thinking of that may or may not, or let's say may find themselves looking towards the portal?
Honestly, if I was to really, my first speculation is I'm looking at the tight end room and the offensive line. You played 3 freshmen this past season. Waywu's gone. Michael will be back. Expectation is he'll be back out there on the field. And so you've got 4 basically starters going into next year. You'll have 3 sophomores. One's a redshirt sophomore, but 3 sophomores and a senior. You got to figure out that right guard. Good chance is Heath Ozida, that he could be that. You may move EPL to the right. Heath goes back to the left. There's so many possibilities in those configurations, but that's most likely where you're going to be at. Then that makes you look at the guys that are older. So we've already seen Isaiah Dent. He's hit the portal. Jacob Sexton. Jake Taylor's probably on that list. Same thing with Logan Howland. They're older. They're more veteran. The question is, do they feel like they can go somewhere else and play, or are they going to hang it up after playing college football? That's, to me, the thought process. So I'm looking at Jake Taylor, Jake Taylor, as well as Logan Howland. I'm looking at Luke Buklinko. You brought him in as a transfer to play tackle. He played a couple of games, but he really didn't crack the rotation. That's when you saw Fogier go out there for Derek Simmons. So I'm expecting those 3 to add to it. And same thing with John Locke as well as Carson Kent. Huggins is gone, but those 2, they didn't really crack much as well. You saw a little bit of Kent. Don't recall seeing much Locke. So in that case, It's a good chance that they may be gone as well. If I'm thinking anywhere and looking heavily, those two are on the offensive side are the ones that I'm looking at the most, and then running back. I don't know. Barnes is gone. I'm wondering about Tatum. I got questions there.
Mm-hmm.
I think Gabe Sawchuk sticks around. I think he enjoys being here. I wonder what that looks like. I mean, you're bringing in 2 backs, but you're going to probably need one more veteran to go with that. Him and Andy Bass makes me wonder. Tatum, Bass, and Sawchuk. What does that look like?
Yeah, and I mean, to your point about a veteran running back, like Xavier Robinson, he's kind of the veteran now. He's going to be going into his 3rd year with the Sooners, and he's done some really good things for you. It's for him now. It's a matter of staying healthy and finding some consistency and building on it. That's been a bit of the struggle for him, at least this past offseason it was, and then throughout the season at different times. Can you feel comfortable with him? Maybe Gabe Sawchuk as kind of the quote unquote veterans in the room, and then Torrey Blaylock, Jonathan Hatton, DeZephan Walker, Andy Bass as your running back group.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can feel 100% confident in that. So I understand where you might be looking to go get a running back. At the same time, if they decide, hey, you know what? We like this group, especially adding Jonathan Hatton to it. We feel like this group is going to be good, and it can carry us, much like they did with the cornerback room, right? We looked at the cornerback group going into 2025 and we're like, man, I don't know. You might need to add a veteran to take some of these big time snaps. And they said, no, we're cool. We're cool with what we got. And like, okay, bet, let's see. And they showed us. So, it's one of those positions to kind of trust it. Tight end, I think you're right. You got to start thinning out players that aren't participating, aren't really helping you much. And, Logan Howland.
Give him opportunity to play. Yeah.
Yeah. And Logan Howland's an interesting one too, because the dude started a bunch of games for you. And he's going to have opportunities and he's going to have options. I look at like Josh Bates, right? Josh Bates, he only started a few games for Oklahoma in that 2024 season. That was a disaster. Ended up portaling out this last year and then went to SMU, became a starter for them like sometime mid-season, and ended up on I can't remember what the award, Remington.
ACC
he was on the
Like
Remington. Yeah. But he was on the Remington like semifinalist. List, which is awesome. So like just because it hasn't like come together just yet doesn't mean it can't. So I'll be curious to see what happens there. Wide receiver is another interesting one because you've got a lot of young players, but you haven't been playing for whatever reason. I don't know what it is. Emmett, Ben Arbuckle, whatever it is, they just find it. They don't seem willing to try to play the young guys much. Or when they do, Jay, they're playing them in really high stakes situations, which that part is baffling sometimes.
Yeah, that is baffling, especially if you don't feel like they know the playbook well enough to be able to go out there. And that, like, I know they all practice very hard, and certain ones are known for being really good in practice and very hard practicers. I look at that and I see, okay, I'm anticipating Satania possibly coming back. He's been quiet about it, hasn't said much. So there's a possibility that they're going to try to convince him to come back, get that final run, similar to what they did with Stutzman and Billy Bowman. Come on back one more year, see if we can make a run. They have the opportunity to do that. So I hope that they do push for that. So you got that situation. Jermichael Carter is going to be back, and he gave you some really good moments. Same thing with Giovanni Gibson. You start to feel good about Giovanni in some of his route running and way he was finding ways to get himself open. And so that's going to be a big push. So when you look at those, that's 3 vets there. Then you've got from, Zion Kearney to Manny Choice to Elijah Thomas to Ivan Carrion. You're trying to figure out who's all going to get some run. I expect Zion Ragin as well as KJ Daniels to portal. We just haven't found a way to get them on the field. I know KJ had been dealing with some stuff BV said he had a hamstring problem when he first came in. And so that's something to chase. We don't know what that's going to look like. So he may end up portaling, going closer to home and playing. Zion Ragin, I was hoping that you'd see him again, but he's kind of struggled his first he struggled his first year as a freshman. I mean, it wasn't really his fault. He's kind of thrusted in there, but yet seen much of him since. So with that, now you ask the question, what does that look like in that room? You know, who could potentially portal, who's going to be around? I think the smaller guys probably do portal. I don't know about Jacob Jordan or Jacob Snyder. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, because you need more wide receiver. You're going to need a lot of wide receiver bodies. But when you have those three main ones in Jermichael Carter, Satania, Jovantae Gibson, and then adding in the other ones, you should probably hopefully see ET with Manny Choice and ZK next season. But that room is the one that baffles me the most because I have no clue what that's going to look like.
Yeah, and I don't know why we can't figure out a way to get some of these guys on the field, even for a drive or two. You know what I mean? Like, you can't figure out a way to use Ivan Carrion's route running or Elijah Thomas's athleticism or Zion Kearney's athleticism to help your offense. I know you want to rely on Isaiah Satania and Deion Burks and whatever combination of Keontez Lewis and Jovantae Gibson and, you know, Jermichael Carter you want to, but these are guys that are capable of helping you. And now you're bringing in four more guys in Jaden Pettit and Daniel Odom and Jazeer Rogers and you know, ZZ, like, that are capable too. So you're really full at wide receiver, but you have to start playing these guys. You got to figure it out. You got to give them opportunities on the field. You can't just be about practice. Sometimes you got to see if these guys can take what they've done on the practice field and elevate, you know, even if it's just for a package of plays. But here's the thing, Jay, like, you know this as well as I do. Some guys, when it gets into game situation, they elevate their level of play, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing is, you'll see that in your non-con games. You'll see that in your Illinois States, your Temples. Next season is what UTEP, right? You probably won't see them in Michigan unless it's a blowout. But your non-con slate is where you typically see those players get that run, and you see if they can be effective or whatnot. That's how you kind of saw Keontez Lewis start to come out. You saw a little bit of Jermichael at that point, but to your point, Jermichael looked his best in Alabama, right? At Tuscaloosa. He looked really good in the second matchup against him. He started to really come to his shape at the end of the season. So to me, that's where the next question is going to come for them is, can they show out against UTEP? Can they be effective in those games? And then you need to go ahead and get them out. But at the same time, the biggest thing is that we don't see is in practice, how good are they when it comes to actually running the plays? Like, you don't want to put a guy out there that as soon as you put him out there, the defense knows, oh, this is what they're going to do, because that's the only thing that player is good at, right? So I get you on they need to play. I think they need to do the things they need to do in practice to get to that point.
Sure. And when it comes to playing games against teams like Illinois State, you've got to play them.
UTEP, yeah. Next year you got UTEP, so there's no reason not to play them against UTEP.
Against Illinois State, Ivan Carrion played 7 snaps. Jermichael Carter, 5 snaps. Jacob Jordan, 3 snaps. Zion Kearney, 1 snap. That's the time that you just throw them out there and let them go play and go make mistakes and go mess up. And then you go back to the film room and talk about it. You know, what's the worst that's going to happen against Illinois State? You're not going to get beat by them. So at some point, this team has to start showing some faith in these guys to get them on the field. And I get it. They have a responsibility on the practice field as well. But what did we hear about Ivan Carrion all offseason? He's the most consistent guy out there at wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's what we heard. And then he only played 7 snaps. So this to me is a Ben Arbuckle. And listen, a lot of the assistants get a lot of crap because of the usage and performance and production. Ben Arbuckle has a lot of say in who gets on the field as well, because he's the offensive coordinator. Ben, you got to get these guys on the field.
For better or for worse. I expect them to next year. They've had a whole summer. They've had a whole full calendar year with the playbook in their hands.
But I'm even saying,
no excuse.
When you got Jaden Pettit and Daniel Odom and ZZ and Jazeer Rogers coming on, like, get those guys on the field too. Unload the depth chart on these these teams that you are way more talented than. Get your guys out there, see what they can do. Let them try to go make a play. If they don't, go back to the film room and talk about it and figure out what they got to do to get better.
Yeah,
That's
well, I mean, that's the one thing is if you see them get 7 snaps, that's probably the reason why they only got 7 snaps.
right. But you got to get your guys experience.
Well, you got to get them experience, but if you put them out there for 7 snaps and they don't do what they're supposed to do for 7 snaps, you can't keep putting them back out there.
Yeah, you can.
No, you can't. That's the problem. That's when you just start going down the depth chart to other players getting experience to see if they can do things right.
But Jacob Jordan, my guy, like Jacob Jordan, are we sitting here thinking Jacob Jordan's not doing what he's supposed to?
I don't know.
He only gets 1 snap. The kid just gets out there and makes plays every single time he's on the field.
I don't know. Maybe he's not able to get open every time. I mean, he had a good job of making a dude fall and getting open in that last play. So yes, I agree. I don't know. Maybe in practice is not what's happening. You never know.
Anyway, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Sooners. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all your favorite social media platforms. So if you think Jay is right and you want to let me know all about it, hit me up at John9Williams or at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But if you want to yell at Jay, and go do it over there as well. Until next time, I'm John Williams. He's Jay Smith. Don't yell at Jay. We might argue sometimes, but it's all in good fun and friendly banter. So don't yell at Jay. We're just having fun here on Locked On Sooners. Hey, and guess what? Christmas is coming, and we hope that you all have a very Merry Christmas. Tell your friends and your family about Locked On Sooners while you're visiting with them.
And that'd be a great gift.
Hit the subscribe button. Yeah, if you haven't figured out something, Everyday Air Club, $5 a month, $50 a year, give them a great gift, or even just, hey, go watch Locked On Sooners for all of your daily Oklahoma Sooners content. Until next time, he's Jay. I'm John. Boomer
Sooner.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.